Ladies and gentlemen, it is your boy Cheats here, and you are listening to a special edition of the Black Baseball Mixtape. Look, everybody knows the biggest story in baseball is the departure of the Oakland Athletics leaving Oakland. The owner, John Fisher, is moving them. It's going to be a multi-year process. They will ultimately end up in Las Vegas. It is a very disappointing story, is the easiest way I can say it, but it was upsetting, right? There's hurt feelings all the way around. Most people believe that the A's could have stayed in Oakland for that community if the owner wanted to do so. It did not. So the interesting thing is, in the wake of that announcement that the Oakland Athletics were leaving Oakland, there emerged a couple of things that seem to give the perception of giving the community of Oakland some hope, especially in the baseball. I started following an upstart independent team called the Oakland Ballers. And I will tell you this. I like everybody else, got really, really excited that there was going to be baseball in Oakland. I got excited about the way they were doing things. I heard they were crowdfunding. They did. They crowdfunded ownership and giving players a say and really being rooted in the heart and community of Oakland. The Oakland Ballers started their inaugural season this past season. And one of the things that got me really excited from day one was the announcement that they hired Coach Micah Franklin as their head coach. I've followed Micah Franklin's career. I know he's an outstanding coach. He actually played in the major leagues as well. And that was step one of me being like, okay, let me look and take this even more seriously. As the Ballers kept going, the other thing I noticed was the number of African American players they were putting on their team. I believe at the height they had about 13 brothers on the field. Coach Franklin, they were really exciting to watch. As time went on, and I kept following the story of the Oakland Ballers, I noticed a couple of things that I had questions about. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I'm not in Oakland, so I had questions about. And one of the first things that obviously came up was a winning record. A winning record seemed to be having success, and out of nowhere, Coach Franklin was no longer with the Ballers. Then you started hearing stories that came out, people that I was close to that said there was concerns about safety, concerns about comfort level for some of the players. And sooner or later, you just started seeing, especially our African American players, leave the program, leave the program, leave the program. I didn't know if they were leaving because Coach Franklin wasn't there anymore, or they were just leaving because of some of the things we'd heard in reports. I've got people that are close to the organization, and I'm talking to them, but there was nothing that really came out publicly. And so I've always followed the story, even to as recently as even this week. I'm still looking and try to find ways to support what I was understanding was a movement in Oakland that was people driven and so forth. This is why this is important. I was able to talk to some of the special guests that we're going to have on this special edition of the podcast, including Coach Franklin, and we're going to hear firsthand about their journey, their season with the Oakland Ballers. And it may not necessarily be what you think it was. It may not necessarily be all that's in the press. They have their own stories. This platform is an opportunity for them to tell those stories. And I'm excited to hear from them. I want everybody to learn from them. And I want to say, before I bring anybody on, these are a group of men, young men, that love baseball, and they will continue to play baseball. They have a passion. The young men that are the players have a passion for the game. I know Coach Franklin has a passion for the game. He's still coaching and teaching as we speak. And this is an opportunity for you to hear firsthand their journey, what they learned, and if there's things that can be improved, how we can make them better. So, with no further ado, I'm going to pull up the one Coach Micah Franklin, my guy, Trevor Halsema, Austin Davis. There'll be some other players joining us. Coach Trevor, Austin, welcome to the Black Baseball Mixtape, man. I'm excited to have you on. It's important to have you on.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Coach, I'm going to start with you because, like I said, this is about you gentlemen being able to tell your journey and about this season. It's obviously a lot of fanfare came with this season. A lot of fanfare came with the announcement. and all the things that the Ballers are doing in Oakland. I want to start from a little bit of the beginning, Coach. For you, how did this even opportunity come about, and why were you so excited to take the opportunity?
Well, I got a call from it was like October, right at the end of October. I got a call from Daryl Brown and my man Jalal Leach, and they called and said, "Hey, Oakland Ballers, they're looking for a manager. Can I throw your name in there?" So I said, "Yeah, tell me about this." And they said, "Well, they're going to be playing in the Pioneer League." And I said, "Well, hold on, Pioneer League? That's up there in Montana and Colorado and everything. How's that going to happen? Is this going to be bus ride?" They said, "No, they're going to fly and do it right. They want to help out the Oakland community and everything, and have a team there for the people and do the right thing for the community." And I said, "Cool, man. Let's. I'm down with that." So Don Wakamatsu called me, and then they hooked me up, and I talked to the owners, Brian Carmel and Paul Freeman, and we got on a Zoom, and I'm like, man, they're saying, "Hey, we want to help the community. We're all about the community. We're all about the people. We want to have a team here, and we just think it would be great." And so we hit it off, and within a few days, I signed that deal, and we started calling players to come out to Oakland.
That's interesting, and that was your introduction to the Ballers and the operations, like you said, the owners and the president of operation. And so that I want to put a pin because I'm going to come back to that. I do want to ask both Austin and Trevor, how did you first hear about the Oakland Ballers and how it came about on your radar to be a part of this inaugural team?
Well, mine happened a little closer towards the season. I was in the middle of switching agents. So I switched over to Lonnie Murray, who was with Dave Stewart. She's well known in the baseball industry. And Lonnie told me
That
that
is or legend, absolute
legend,
legend. This
legend.
podcast wouldn't be taking place if it wasn't for Lonnie Murray. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so Lonnie, she brought up the fact that Oakland was bringing up a new baseball team. She said the Oakland Ballers, and I was like, I trust Lonnie, so I was like, let's do it. So after that, the rest was history. I got my contract and my paperwork. We handled that, and then I was on my way.
How about you, Trevor?
So mine was kind of the same way. I think I was at the beach the first time I got a text from Lonnie, and she was like, "Hey, have you heard of this team?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't heard of it." And she's like, "Well, you need to get on it right now. It'd be really good for you." And it was kind of history after that. She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna call Micah. I want to have you talk to them." And then Micah called me. I had a good convo with him, and then the rest was history after that.
So now you tell me, Micah, coach, you tell me. You got the job. You're starting to get players in like Austin and Trevor. How did you were winning once the game started going? I know you guys were winning games. So talk to me about like the early inception. Did you start noticing things right away, or was it like, because I'm looking at it almost like a startup. You tell me if I'm looking at it wrong, but I'm starting to look at it like, okay, this is the first time we're doing things. Maybe we got to get our sea legs straight. But you tell me, Coach, how did it start off? Your experience coaching the Ballers?
No, we were winning. We were winning. Matter of fact, we had a game that actually I thought was really cool. We had every position had a minority on the field. I've never actually really experienced that playing as a player, and maybe that was my misunderstanding, but I doubt it. I'll give the benefit of the doubt for that because everything I was told before the season was about what we just did. So let's go back to when it first started. We're making phone calls to people. Trevor and Austin never should have been at this team because their talent is higher. Well, Lonnie knew what was going on. This was bigger than everything. This was going to be a team where everyone could be comfortable and play. And with the connections I have, Lonnie has, other people have, we had a lot of players getting seen. I think we had 4 guys end up going to Org Ball. And so we started calling players, and it was very noticeable that right away, we had, I think, 9 black position players, 3 white position players. And it was on purpose, but not on purpose at the same time. We called the best players, and when I was on the phone with them, I think it was obvious that they wanted to be part of what we were saying. This is going to be a chance to be in the community, help a community, be amongst people more of, you're going to be on an equal footing, an equal chance to be in the clubhouse and be equal. You don't have to hide who you are at your workplace. And as Black people, we all know how that is. It's very hard in baseball to actually walk into the clubhouse and feel comfortable. And you have to, go in your little corner and say things, or be in another room where no one's around and you can really say how you really truly feel and get treated fairly. And that's unfortunate. So as we were going through the process, coaching staff, all of a sudden I wasn't allowed, I couldn't get the coaches I wanted. I wanted my man Zapata over there at Laney. He's been there 21 years as a head coach. And I know I've known him for like 35, 40 years. We grew up together. That was a no. Then they brought in Aaron Miles and JT Snow, without, it wasn't something I wanted. So not saying anything with them. Maybe it's great for them and great for the team if it was another team. But for this team to have them, that was tough. I asked for a couple other coaches. I got denied. At a Black pitching coach, I was told he was a young kid. I got him. I got his name through Billy Horton, who ended up, they won the championship in this league. He gave me his name. I brought it to our upper management, and I was told that if a minority doesn't have a job, he must not be very good. And I just kept my mouth quiet at that point, because we still did have a lot of Black players, and I was like, what's going on here? But we kept going. I kept going. Then we were told, I couldn't tell you at least 6 times, that I don't want the players kneeling for the national anthem. And I'm sitting here, and there's a lot. I'm like, what is this even bringing up for? Right. We had another pitcher, Ephraim, and we was with the Phillies. I was actually coached against him the year before, so I had a game plan against him. I thought he would do great in this league. Well, his page, it was too thuggish, his Instagram page. So all of a sudden, so now I'm sitting there, I'm talking to the owner, Paul, and this is right in April, and I brought up some concerns about what is our policy regarding certain, days we may have at the ballpark, and can a player sit out on certain days, Pride Day, this and that? What are we going to do if we had certain instances? And then I also spoke to him about the staff we have, and I don't feel it's going to work. And you
started to get that sense just because you weren't able to bring in your guys, and they're bringing in other guys that you didn't think felt meshed with the team, right?
Well, they didn't mesh with me or the team.
Okay.
It was obvious that they're alphas, they're whatever, they have an idea, and they knew, I find this in coaching a lot, especially when you have guys in big leagues who haven't been through and the room of realm of coaching and workplace, and how structure works, and how the leadership works from, the management all the way down. We have to be on the page, and we were having Zoom calls, and they weren't happy with that. I asked for a simple exercise, and it was actually Aston Davis. He sent in a video. I said, the exercise, and this is something we do all the time in the office place. There was the exercise. Tell me something you like about this swing. So this is just an exercise of, right away, a lot of people will go to the negative. They'll look at what he does wrong instead of what he does right. So it's an exercise to look at the positive of our players. So right away, JT Snow sends back, well, can he hit in the 9th inning? Can he hit when it counts? I don't care what he does in the K. These are going through to all the coaches. This is the attitude we're getting back. So right away, I know this isn't going to work. And they're telling me, well, in the workplace, we all don't get along, and you just have to try to make it work because, these guys will bring in a lot of fans and money. And I'm like, this is not just a regular workplace. It's not Google. It's not whatever, an office. This is a baseball diamond, and it needs to, we all have to be in the same group. So that's pretty much where it started, and that's how this thing started, and then it got worse as we kept going.
Let me bring in the players really quick, Austin and Trevor. Talk to me a little bit about just early on. I know we'll get to some other stuff a little bit in later in the podcast, but the clubhouse atmosphere, the atmosphere of having so many players of color around. What was the vibe like playing for the Ballers, especially early on?
Yes. So I'll go first. I thought it was amazing having a lot of color around, just because it's not a normal thing to have. So I felt like being able to be myself and you know kind of say what I want for once. Like I never felt that type of environment before, so I thought that was really cool. And just being able to be free and you know coming to the ballpark knowing I'm going to be excited, and it was just a lot of new things that I think I wasn't used to. So I felt like that was a super good atmosphere, and I really enjoyed the clubhouse environment, to be honest.
Yeah, to piggyback off what Trevor just said, I mean, for me, it was a different experience because since my freshman year of college, I've always had a lot of black players or African American players that I played with. So my freshman year at West Virginia, we had a total of I think 9, and I've always had a minimum of 4 throughout college. Even when I transferred to TCU, it was 4 of us, 4 minority players.
Mm.
So being with Oakland was kind of just like another transfer, just being able to be yourself. Sometimes players, African American players are scared to be themselves around, who's in the locker room. They don't want somebody to hear this. They don't want to say the same thing. But being in the locker room with people you can bond with sometimes closer because they understand what it's like to be an African American baseball player and play baseball. So it makes it a little easier. But it was awesome. The experience was great. So it was just an amazing experience in the locker room. The vibes were immaculate.
I mean,
So let's
let
talk.
me.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Trevor. Go
Oh, I
ahead,
was
Trevor.
gonna clarify real quick. So my last year in college, we had one, two. It was like 4 or 5 of us. My last year of college,
Hmm.
African American players. So like that was a transition into when I went to Idaho Falls. We had a decent amount. So my last year, and then the 2 years after that, I had a decent amount of black players on the team.
Let me say something. That's what's a shame. Listen to what they just said. Minimum 4 or 5. They had 9. The team had 35 players at West Virginia. They had 9, and they're
Hmm.
thinking that's a lot.
But by
That's
ratio, coach,
that's
that's a
what's
lot, right?
sad. But
By
that's what's
ratio, they're
sad.
killing it. They're
Yes, by
killing it.
ratio is outstanding. But isn't
Right.
that what's sad?
Right. Yep.
That's what's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So
We think
let
we think if we had a few, that's a lot.
and by ratio, I get you. I'm with you. But by ratio, you talking about a D1 Power Five?
But that's
What
that.
8 or 9?
To my
That's
point,
a
we're
lot,
talking
right?
about
That's what.
why black players aren't playing this game anymore, and
Right.
our mindset is to say that if we had 5 out of 35 players, that's good.
That's good. I get you. I get. Let me
That's
let me ask this because I wanted to set that up intentionally. I wanted to hear from the players what it's like from the clubhouse. I wanted to hear your excitement, coach, when you took the job. Now, and as we're going through, you're winning games. You're winning games in the Pioneer League. And like I said, the very first thing I heard was just kind of it might have even been a social media announcement that Micah Franklin's no longer with the Ballers. That was it. That was it. So, and then I hadn't heard. This is the first time I'm hearing from you, coach, and the first time I think a lot of people are hearing from you. So, since that announcement, so I want to hear from you. What was the scenario? What kind of led to you no longer being with the Ballers in that situation? And how did we get to that point of a winning record coach? I believe you guys were sitting at 29 and 25 in the top half of the Pioneer League, and it seemed like everything is going well on the outside. Somebody in Virginia, it seems like it's going great, and no longer one of the reasons why I started watching the Ballers is no longer there. What led up to that?
yeah. We were 2 games out of the playoff at that point. Well, let's go real quick to how it even happened. I'm sitting there in my car. I get a little phone text message says, "Hey, are you available when the game starts?" Because I actually, right before that, I actually got thrown out of games, so I had a couple games suspension. I had to fight for our ace, on a bad call. So, and that was the first time all year I really went out there, but we were in a little situation. I had to just turn the team around. So I thought it was the right time. So they said, hey, you ready for a Zoom? Can you get on the Zoom? So I hopped on the Zoom. My wife's there. We're in the car. And I'm doing the Zoom. And as soon as I got on, I'm like, I'm going to get a leg up. Watch this. Oh, yeah. They said, hey, we decided to make a decision. Don Walkmouth said that. And then all of a sudden, Brian hopped on and said, hey, Micah, man, we love you. I think the world of you, but I just think we got a philosophical difference. Now, I don't know. I didn't even know what that meant, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I've been let go enough. They don't want to tell the truth, then that's fine. Now, so that leads to me only assuming because I didn't get the truth. So the only thing I can do is assume how it all worked. And this is my feeling. They will have their feeling, and that's fine. My feeling was it was a situation where I don't think they really knew what they were getting. I think they wanted something for the community and they were comfortable with having a black friend or two. But I don't think they were really in a room when there was the leadership, the manager was black, the players were black, and they just said they felt comfortable. Now, we clown. That's what we do as players. I'm going to get on you. I'm going to tell you, man, AD, what was you thinking, Trev? What was you thinking? Come on now. That might look at you. How you don't go 1 for 4 today with that sorry boy on the mound? That's what we do. Now, during the game, we're emotional or whatever, but then we go in the back of the clubhouse and we clown the whole time, right? Well, I just don't think they understood and liked that kind of way. I know JT Snow and the pitching coach, Jimmy Diedrich, didn't like it. I know they didn't like the way maybe Austin or Payton Harden played the game because they played it with a flair. They had style. They had what Oakland is all about. It had what I'm all about. Be you, man. Have some fun out there. Play this thing hard as hell. They more of he's a real baseball player. That's the one that does, that runs into a wall, doesn't say nothing or what. So that's a baseball player, but our way of play is not a baseball player. And our way of play, if you looked at it, the top hitters on the team were all black at that time. The top pitcher was black. He took off and went to the Giants. Now, why is that not the right style of play? So we had to deal. There was a lot of that. And then there was the coaches going behind me and going to the ownership and the GM, Don Walk. They were conspiring. They were talking because they didn't like what's going on. I'm complaining a lot at this point. We don't have a batting cage deal. I'm going out there at 2:00 in the afternoon because we weren't allowed to go any earlier through California law because they didn't want to pay the players anymore because it would cost overtime for them. So I'm out there on the field doing all our work we would do in a cage. I'm doing everything. We didn't have a hitting coach. They wouldn't let me hire him. JT Snow, he didn't want to do it because, and there's nothing wrong with that because when he came on, this was his agreement with the owners that he wouldn't, he can do his time. So he didn't want to commit to being there that much. Like just the fact we had a game and he did a golf tournament with his family instead of a game. That was his agreement. So there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, I didn't have the resources I needed because of all that. They had to train Aaron Miles how to coach first base. Walk would talk to him. We had a pitching coach with Jimmy right away. Didn't like it. We had people like Jazz Chisholm. We had Cody Bellinger. We had Jamie Westbrook, Cole Tucker on Zooms. He told me the next day when Jazz Chisholm was on there, and Jazz Chisholm going to tell the truth. He was like, hey, man, I wouldn't talk people was tripping, so I would call Micah. I would call Franklin Stubbs because, they was white. He'd call him whatever, white boy, whatever he used the word. Jimmy's like, that's how you think that feels when I have to hear that. And I almost turned around and said, forget it. It was like the first time they had to deal with what we deal with every day. They couldn't handle that. And I think that led up to so much. Then I'm advocating for the players because they said, I'm the one who called every one of these guys to get them here. They told me they're going to have free housing. They're going to have this. They're going to have the best facilities. They're going to have for the players. Well, that was a lie. They had 2 houses for 26 players.
That is true. Let me get back to that because you said so much, Coach, and I want to bring in the players and ask them, like right now, about we talked about some of the excitement you guys had about initially being on the squad, being surrounded by your brothers and so forth. That style of play and those conversations and the things that coach um, seemed, was supporting. Did you guys, while you're playing the game, did you get a sense that some of the things that made, our game exciting for us is that, did you get a sense that this is stuff that some of the other people in the organization didn't want to see?
I mean, playing baseball your whole life, you really get a sense that's always going to be like that, no matter where you are in baseball. You got to really think of it like as a black person playing quarterback. They don't want you there, so you have to be better than everybody. You're gonna have a type of different flair than everybody, like Michael Vick, like Cam Newton, like all those guys. They probably feel the same way that we feel playing baseball because at the same time, yes, you're good, you're better than him, but you have to be even better. So at the same time, there's people probably behind your back that's saying, "Oh, I don't like him," but we've been doing this our whole life since we were young, since we started the game of baseball. So there's really no difference. I mean, you can feel it, you can see it because we can see through that. We've been doing it our whole life. So at the end of the day, it's not really going to affect us at this age because we've been doing it our whole life. So at that point of time, it's just like, well, if you don't like me, that's nothing new. I'm just gonna keep doing me, and I'm gonna keep putting up the numbers and being the best player and teammate that I possibly can be.
How about you, Trevor? Is it the same?
Yeah, I mean, AD nailed it because in
Mm.
the beginning, I'll say in the beginning for me, I kind of got fooled a little bit. Like I didn't really see it, but just to piggyback him, it's like growing up, you're used to that. Like growing up, I was always told, if they're hating on you, that's because you're doing good. You're doing what you're supposed to do. And in the beginning, like I said, I didn't really notice it, but I will say as the season went on, I'm like, like I would just hear things or be told certain things where I would just make a mental note in my head. I'm like, okay, like I know what you're on now. And like, so I feel like in the beginning of the season, no, I didn't notice it, but like I would say towards closer to the middle halfway point is when I started to get a sense of how it really was.
Yeah, so
So
like I mean, with Micah's really the reason that I went in there because I mean it's always baseball's always about connections. Nobody has more connections than Micah Franklin. That guy has all the connections. I mean, we had Dusty Baker in our dugout for a game one time. Dusty Baker. Everybody knows Dusty Baker. Hall of
Absolute legend.
Fame
All I
coach,
mean,
legend.
yeah, legend,
Like I mean,
legend.
he's going down as one of the greatest. Like
Yep.
with somebody with that kind of connection power, I mean, why would you not want to go there? And then with him leaving, literally the game after Dusty was just in the dugout, it just doesn't make sense. So like, it's like when you think about it, like why would you want to be somewhere that the reason you there is gone? I mean, yes, you gotta fight through adversity, but like the reason I was there was for Micah. It's just no difference from like Mookie Betts leaving the Red Sox to go to the Dodgers. I mean,
Yep.
he wanted to leave someplace to go be at a better place. I mean, it's like Michael Vick when he came back, he wanted to go to the Eagles. He didn't want to go back to the Falcons. You want to be somewhere where you're wanted and not where you're not wanted.
You want
But
to
I mean,
be
And
appreciated and not tolerated is what
and,
sometimes you
is what
can't
I
and
always
control that. Sometimes you can't control that. You just got to do what you do and still be the best version of you, no matter where you're at. But if you have an opportunity to leave and think you're gonna have a better opportunity to win, be successful, why not leave? So I
well, and
mean,
and to kind of go off that too, it was like when Micah left, it was like, oh, you guys are leaving because Micah's leaving. It's like, no, we were putting up and staying here because Micah was here. This was not a new feeling we had just because Micah was gone. We felt like this the whole time, but we just kind of bit our tongue. And then once you kick the head off the anthill, all the hands come out. That's what happened.
Hmm.
yeah,
All right,
that
so
that kind of
coach,
that kind
you
of
got a
was
new
it.
player that's joining you.
Oh,
Who's joining us right now?
D dog, what up, baby?
What up? What up?
Introduce yourself, my guy.
My name Payton Harden.
Peyton.
I was an outfielder with the Ballers this year. I stuck around the whole year. You know,
Peyton, we're gonna talk to you about your experience with the Ballers, your experience, and the whole journey. I know, like you just said, you stayed until the very end, so we're gonna get to some of your reflections as we go through, and I think it's really important and important that you explain from your side of the journey what it was like. Um, Austin and Trevor are also explaining from their journey, from their perspective, what it was like, and so is Coach Franklin. Coach, I do want to get back to you and ask, because you were talking about kind of philosophical differences and some of the comfort levels, but then you started to go into some of the conditions in which I guess things were told in advance from the organization, whether it was housing or safety, and some of those things, from what I understand from you and other kind of even things that are out in the public, it just seems like it either struggled to be, it was not exactly what was, it definitely wasn't exactly what was told, but it wasn't what was told. So there was some housing, safety, even just kind of living costs to this experience. Talk about that, Coach.
Yeah, the kind of person I am, this is why I was brought up, this is who I am as a person. First and foremost, them players are my responsibility. I called each and every one of those players to come play for me. And I was told that they were going to be taken care of. We are going to, that was my big concern about being in Oakland in the first place. Nope, they will be taken care of. Well, about a week right before the season, they said we got housing for them, but they're going to have to pay $200. And I'm fighting with the owners and telling that's just not right. The front office and say, no, we told them you can't do that. They stuck now. They can't go anywhere else. You can't charge them. But yeah, but look at this place. It's going to be so nice. So they were fancy pictures and everything. So then when we got there, I found out they had four in a room, 26 players in 2 houses. They have 2 bunk beds in each little tiny rooms, no air conditioning in one. Just an absolute mess. There was no privacy for these guys just to go anywhere, just to make a phone, just to breathe a little bit, you know. And that, not having a cage, not having a clubhouse that even had a roof on it, you know. We had a clubhouse in a warehouse that just had make-believe walls, you know, and the owners would just be there, right? They didn't have anywhere to go to be away from any of this. Their paychecks were messed up. They had a clubby that would come every roach or every home, which is great and everything, but not the club paying for it, the players, and we're paying $3 a day where they're not making that much anyway, and they had to pay all that. Now I'm fighting with them and saying, why are the players paying for your employee? Why are you not in housing? They need better housing. My response back was, we need to get players from smaller, not more popular, famous schools, smaller schools, players who won't complain about being 12 in a room. I'm sure they meant 12 in a house, but they said 12 in a room. And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then it kept going on. And then they moved them to another house. Now, this house was in a neighborhood no one should be living in. That's not from there and not from that situation. They knew players are coming in, going out. They out there casing that place. I think it was 4 cars broken into, 1 stolen, gun pulled on them. At the ballpark, we had another gun, 2 and the grounds crew and the dude Evan, who does everything at that ballpark, got robbed at gunpoint. So it was such ridiculous that we're not asking for a lot. It's gonna cost more money, but you gotta put them up in the next neighborhood in Emeryville or somewhere. It's okay. I wouldn't have my kids stay there, let alone, you know what I mean? If I was one of them parents, no way in hell I'm letting my kids stay there when that's going on. So I'm fighting for that. Then we had a player that got hurt. Miles Jefferson got hurt. They not taking care of it. I told them when they hired the trainer, it's got to be a trainer. The medical is serious. Well, this trainer leaves before all the players are even out of the shower. When we even had water to shower. But he leave it, and when we said, you gotta wait until the end, he said, no, I'm not gonna do that. That was my response. That's what I got back. Just like from the pitching coach, when a player asked him, "Can we be there at 2:30?" Player, no, I'm not gonna do that. Those were responses that we got back. So it was bad, man. So for me, looking out for these players, it was tough. It was really, really tough to see how it was going on.
And so I'll draw it out there to you guys, Austin, Trevor, and Payton. While you're going through this process, you're living it, you're playing baseball. Again, you're playing winning baseball for the most part. What was it? Did kind of living conditions, obviously they weren't what you were told. Did they feel unsafe?
Oh yeah. I
That's what I'm
mean,
saying.
I can go back. I can go back to before we even really got into Oakland. So I'm from the South. I'm from Florida, live in Texas. So, down here, everybody has, their gun license. So I have my gun license. And my dad told me he's been to Oakland. He was like, look, man, Oakland's a different breed. So
Mhm.
being an African American black person, like what sides to not be on in the city, what sides you can't be on. Always have your eyes up, ears open for certain sides of the city. So my dad was telling me basically Oakland's like that all around the area.
Everywhere.
And so I have my gun license, so I brought my firearm with me. So before we even got to Oakland, I was told from someone above that I shouldn't have it with me and I should send it back home. So at first, I'm a cooperator. I'm just a player, They got the power. So I was like, you know what? I'll we can do that when I get back. We get back, we see our house. The first thing we see are some gang members walking down our street. And I'm like, I'm a baseball player. I'm not a gang member. I
Mhm.
can't be around these people. So I have my firearm. I'm gonna keep myself safe, and then I'm gonna try to keep as many friends I have safe as possible. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you're living at home and your parents have a firearm, if somebody breaks in your house, they're gonna use that weapon to protect themselves. Because in that life or death instance, you want to save yourself. You can't save the other person that's bringing to your home. So I'm gonna look out for myself in that case. So it's like, why do you want me to send a firearm home when we're living in West Oakland, where we had a couple cars breaking into, we had someone held at gunpoint, we had someone's car broken into at the gas station. So we got all these activities. We also had a whole gang war 2 streets behind where we were living. There's a Twitter video of the whole
Jesus.
war. I'm talking about you would have thought we was in Iraq. You thought we was in the army if you'd have heard those gunshots. So it's like, why am I sending my firearm home when that's my protection and I can protect others? And they're saying it's a liability to the team. I know it's gonna be a liability to us if I don't have that and somebody breaks in. Then there's a bigger problem if somebody gets hurt.
That's what's up. And then Peyton and Trevor, do you want to jump in on this? Just the living condition safety
Yeah,
issue. I mean, obviously
I'll
you
jump
guys are
in.
balling out, but
I'll jump in. I just remember getting a text, being shown photos of you guys like this house, it's gonna be max two to a room, blah blah blah. I mean, from the photos, it looked really nice. It fooled everyone.
mm,
And I remember all of us were like, yeah, 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 we're so down for that. And it was cool because the first 2 weeks when we played, we were on the road, so we were in hotels, so everything was cool. We didn't really see anything, and
mm,
then we finally get back and it's move-in day, and all of us are super excited because we're about to, finally move in and have our own place. And we show up, and all of us kind of had the same dumbfounded look on our face because we're like, "What is this? This is not
mm,
what we were shown." And I remember walking into the place, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing 4 bunk beds in each room. And I mean, I'm a pretty big dude, and these were like full size. They weren't that big, and um, let alone not having a closet, not having anything. All of our stuff was kind of just on the ground everywhere. And it so happens that the room I picked was on the bottom level. And for some reason, the 2 rooms on the bottom level, the light was connected. So if you went to turn the light on or turn it off on one of the rooms, it would turn the light on or the fan on in the other room. So you were kind of stuck to sleeping with a light on in one of the rooms.
that's crazy.
And you had 2 bathrooms for what, 14, 15 of us, a washer or dryer that wasn't working. Not to mention in the other house, it was 2 bedrooms. So there was 4 bunk beds in the living room.
Mm,
And, yeah, I just, after from playing in this league before, I just knew this is not how it was ran. And I had
mm,
a problem immediately off rip. And, I went to the owners and I was like, "Look," I go, "What is this? Like, this is not what we were shown. This is not what we were told we were getting." And to be honest, I was laughed at, literally laughed at, and I was
mm,
like, "Ha ha ha! It can't be that bad." And he was like, "I didn't." One of the owners was like, "Oh, I didn't set this up. Someone else set it up, the other owner." And I was like, "Cool, let me talk to him."
I'm right
And
there with him. I'm right there with him.
Peyton, everyone's with me, and he was trying to film us because they were doing some documentary
Mhm.
and kind of making it look like, oh, if I film them, they will kind of be quiet because they don't want this on film. And me, I didn't care because I'm like, look, this needs to be taken care of. This is our sleep. This is everything. And so I talked to the other owner, Paul, and he was like, oh, really? It's not that bad. Are you serious? Are you sure? And just kind of acting like a little dumb.
A little dismissive.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And so the other owner was like, Brian was like, oh, okay, I'll make sure to stop by later this afternoon to come see it for myself. Never showed up. Didn't go there not one time the whole year.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that was our initial off rip introduction to what a baller was.
So, so now, Coach, let me ask this because obviously this is Pioneer League baseball, right? Independent baseball. This is a organization that we saw from public was crowdfunding, right? They're trying to, I think they raised from individual donors and Oakland community members, and I think they crowdsourced again. They were basically running the organization like a startup. Is there something to just on it, just to be frank, like, oh, this is a kind of growing pain situation, or maybe they didn't have the resources to provide better, like, what was your take on that type of, oh, this is, they're kind of flying the plane as they build it.
No. This is Don Wakamatsu told them right away. This is something you need to take care of the players.
Hmm.
He told them several times. This is something that they did not. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Understand? I would say care about.
Yep.
Because they spent tons of money on advertisement, tons of money on likes, tons of money on clicks. To have a radio thing, I think $100,000. Paid a ton of money to have the game on Friday night with CBS. They paid a lot of money to have Two Shorts DJ there. Kept paying money to do all those things, but didn't do any of that money for those players except the bare minimum of what they're required.
Hmm. That's important. That's
Now,
important to know.
everybody, they're from Oakland. Everybody and their mother knows Oakland. It's like AD said, his pops went there. I grew up saying, I know better. And I wasn't always this nice guy I am now. If I'm in Oakland back in day, I'm gonna be strapped too. There's no way in hell I'm not. They were getting cars broken in. I mean, James Harris, he got his car broken in right in front of the stadium when he went 2 steps, and within in a second, all his stuff gone. Excuse me, all his stuff is gone. So it is no doubt everybody knows. So they're telling us, put your stuff here, do that. So they know how bad that neighborhood is. They knew exactly what they were getting. There's no growing pains here. There's
Hmm.
that. This is what it is going to be. Now, when I brought that up, I heard back when we played. Now, when I played, it was 30 years ago. We
Hmm.
slept on, blow up mattresses on the floor. What this is 30 years. That's not okay. It wasn't okay then, and now I have something to do about it. It's not okay now. It's just not all right. That's not how you treat humans. That's not how you treat people, especially the ones who are there giving everything they got to the team, the community, and themselves to try to advance and get higher in this game. So I'm giving it 100%. They're giving 100%. The owners, are they going to give it 100%? Now, I understand it's a financial issue. Well, hell, this goes all the way back to, I know, November. They were telling them about housing back then. So they
Hmm.
knew about it. They knew the situation of housing was going to be an issue.
Let me,
And I don't know
no.
what they
Hey, look,
didn't do.
let me ask this because and I want to bring Peyton in as well. But I know there was some Trevor and Austin were saying, "Hey, look, pieces and pieces are putting together." Coach Franklin obviously is a player's coach. He's doing what he needs to advocate for the players. Ultimately, it leads to philosophical differences in which you are no longer with the team. I know Peyton stayed till the end. Trevor, Austin, what was the vibe like after Coach Franklin was relieved of his duties?
it was like a shock. Like we was all. I remember we had a team meeting right after the game. They were like, Coach Mike is not gonna be here no more. I remember just everybody looking around like, why is he going? Like we were just like 2 games out of winning the first half. So why are we firing our manager? That doesn't make no sense. That's like you 1 game from the Super Bowl and they fired their head coach. Like that doesn't make no sense. So it was kind of a shock. We were just confused, like dumbfounded,
So it
like
came out of nowhere for the players. Were y'all
yeah.
surprised, or did y'all know this was going down behind the
No,
scenes?
it was a straight shock, and it felt like when we had the meeting, low key, it was pretty much directed at us. Like it was.
When
I
you
mean,
say
it
us,
just
you mean the black players?
yeah,
Okay.
that's what it felt like.
Because most of us came because of Micah. Like Micah called us. Like me and Micah grew. I didn't know who Micah was until I joined the team, but me and him got a connection over the offseason while I was training, sending him videos. Like I was going there because of him. Like I wanted to be a better player, better hitter, and he was gonna help me. But now that he's gone, I mean, I don't know none of the other managers. I mean, before I got there, I didn't know none of the other managers. I didn't know who they were. I just knew Micah Franklin. I mean, as time went on, the season went on. I've grown quote unquote relationships with the other managers just based off that's who I am. That's my personality. But I was there for Micah.
I'm gonna
Likewise,
bring.
like I.
Oh, go ahead, Trey.
No, I'm saying I remember it hit hard for sure because even before the season, I went out for a month and a half to hit with Micah, and we developed, a like father like relationship. So like when he left, it hit hard for me.
Jeez, can I add to that real quick? That's the
Absolutely.
other thing. That's the other thing with me. We clown and we have fun, but I'm very disciplined as well. You can't be a minute late with me. You late. You can't. No, you done. You can't hit. You late. You had your opportunity to be here. So it's about being a man too. So I don't think they understand it. I think we have my pops was like this, and I know a lot of pops like this. I'm a truth teller. I'm gonna walk in there with a piece of paper and let you know, hey, you got this percentage of strikeout rates, and I'm gonna read it out to the whole team. This ain't acceptable. You want to get on the field, you got to be better. Same thing with the pitchers. Nah, here's the walk rate. This can't happen. For my team, you can't walk players. For my team, you can't strike out. Well, it was a great example. We had this one player, happened to be white, and he started off the year actually hitting the third spot. You know what I mean? And I was told that I was being unfair to him, JT and Jimmy. That I'm being unfair to him. It was obvious. I'm like, what do you mean unfair? He got 70 at bats. He's in 200. He'll get his chance again when he's doing better. But in spring training, you had him playing second and short. Now he's playing third. I'm like, yeah, because Mother Deuce is better right now. That's where he gonna play. That's the truth. And they didn't like it. They said, well, that's too mean to tell him the truth. He got a 35, 30, 40% strikeout rate. If you want to play and be better, you're going to have to, if I gave a $10 fine because it was obvious. I said, hey, load the bus at 9:45. It came at 10 because the bus leaves at 10. I said, no, you can't be that. You can't do that. When coach and your boss or anyone tells you to have an assignment, this is when it's done. And that's how I am. Now we're going to clown later. Hey, appreciate that 10. I go to the Henny fund. That's who we are as people.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
Let me
how I am.
let me bring Peyton in and give him the opportunity to talk a little bit about his experience. You Peyton, welcome to the mixtape, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. This is, like I said, this is the mixtape. This isn't TMZ. This isn't Gotcha. We're not trying to we want to talk about your experience. Want to learn about what you went through. You finished the season with the Ballers, so you were there from the beginning. All of this, we're talking about the first half, and then through all of the ups and downs of winning a lot of games, making it to the playoffs, because the Ballers did ultimately make it to the playoffs. And then you were through some of this process as well. Talk to me a little bit from your perspective. What was the experience like coming in there, obviously starting the season with Coach Franklin and a lot of players of color, and then kind of seeing that change over time? What was your experience playing the season like?
It was definitely a roller coaster from the jump. Like, from literally like the beginning of the season till when Micah left, it's like everything just did like a full 360 turn. Like the vibes around the field, just like the vibes playing, like from day one to the last day was like probably my first season of like so much change and like just not just it was just so many distractions and so much extra stuff. Like you always gonna have adversity during the season, but just like the adversity we dealt with, from the housing, from the people we experienced out there, the locker room situation, the no cages, like it was just so much stuff. And like when Michael left, like you could tell like that everything it was either gonna be one or two ways. It was gonna be really good and like players gonna play no matter what. Like we had a good team, we had the right players. Players play. But when when you lose somebody like Micah, like one of the leaders, the head coach of the team, and somebody that a lot of people get along with, it's like everybody didn't want to play at that point. And it was like damn, like what are we here for now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Literally, what are we here for now? And it was just like it just felt like a bunch of fake love around for a good minute. Like like everything was just like a show. Like it just felt like a show the whole year. But I mean, things got a little better. Like they ended up putting us in a better like a okay house after the little robberies or whatever at the other house. But I mean, still, like when we moved into that house, we moved in at 10 a.m. and as we moving in, we got like 4 construction worker dudes like moving out of the house, don't speak no English, so we like trying to communicate. And finally, one dude come up and he like, oh yeah, like it was like 18 of us in this house. Like they told us we had to move out at 5 in the morning. So yeah, so we go to a house not even clean, 18 construction workers who, been living
out.
Been living in the house. No clean sheets. Like I got stuff all on my sheet. I got, blood on the pillow look like just like it's just nasty. So like, we say something, they I guess some people on the team, they was so tired of moving. They was like, you know what, like I'm gonna just deal with it. Like I'll sleep on top of the sheets. I'll go get some cleaner myself and clean it. And me, like I wouldn't say I'm bougie, like I'm like, but at the same time, like if like I'm not gonna put up with like, nah, that's not okay. Like I'm not gonna have blood on my pillow and like dirt stains all on the comforters and all the sheets. Like that's not me. So they ended up putting a few of us up in a hotel for a few days while they got somebody to clean. And then we got back and house still wasn't clean. They said I was gonna have a cleaning crew. But I mean, I feel like at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, it may have been on the Ballers, but I feel like it was on the I guess the house manager who was giving us the houses, because that dude, he was like a scam artist. Like he put us in his house with all the bunk beds. That was garbage. I mean, you got grown men, you got 4 grown men in one room. Like, come on, bro. Like you got room for nothing. Like I mean, what can you do? I mean, luckily, it was in our little bunk or our little cell room. It was me, AD, Miles, and Tyler Davis. He ended up getting picked up after one day, so we had 3 in our room. But it was. I felt like if I wasn't as cool with like Miles or AD, and like we was chilling, then like it would have been for sure would have been weird, because you got to think about it. You go into a whole new team you don't know. Now you got a room with 3 other dudes with 2 bathrooms in it. Like think about that, 3 dudes.
Yeah, this is different. This is different. This is not even college level type.
Not to mention, if you're on the top bunk and you wake up and
I
you
was on the
don't
top
army
bunk.
crawl out the bunk, you're gonna hit your head on the ceiling fan because
Yeah.
you're that close to the top.
Everything they said, now we had to go to the field and play, and I would have to hear, and I'd go in the clubhouse and just let them get their frustration out. It was so bad. I called the meeting. I wanted everyone to say everything and I'm gonna bring this to the owner. So we had the whole team come in and every complaint, and it was crazy. All the complaints from just having garbage everywhere because they didn't have a garbage pick. It was unbelievable. It really was.
So the 3 things I want to touch on real quick, because before we exit the conversation, and there's because they're just so important, because there was the article that came out that talked about the experience, and again, Payton, before you got here as well, they did talk about a lot of the good vibes as well, being around and feeling comfortable and be able to play baseball with people that look like them and related to them, and having a coach that related to them and look like that. I don't want to be dismissive, right, of that experience as well. there's two things I want to bring up, and I'll get out here on the last thing as well. It's imperative. We talk about safety, but not just like safety of your living conditions and safety of your neighborhood, but I mean safety as, your body, your frame is what puts you on the field every day. There was some conversations, you mentioned it lightly, Coach, about the trainer injuries, being able to recover, rehab, do those things. Were Talk to me about, because I did hear in the article that there's players that got injured, that got misdiagnosed, misassessed, and it ultimately affected their season or even being able to play as they moved past going towards the off season. What was the situation in regards to health of the player, not necessarily like the living conditions, but like injuries on the field, recovery, training?
Yeah, that's where so like 2 days right before I got actually fired, I sent a text message to the owner, Henry Hunter, and it talked about the guns getting pulled on the players, the cars getting broken into, and Miles' injury. And I said, man, I can't tell players to come here. So that was a big concern with Miles. He was completely misdiagnosed with no doctor's visits. They're telling me he's okay to play, and I put him in there, and I actually took him out one game. I'm like, he's not okay. There's something wrong here. So I was like, look, they ain't doing nothing. Low key, I said, look, man, go. I said, gave him Lonnie's number. I said, you need to call her and get this checked out. Well, it comes back. They finally do something. Now, this weeks. They finally do something. He got a torn tendon in there, needs surgery. And they said it got worse because he's playing. I believe it's Dr. Sheridan looked at it here in Arizona, and he said it got worse because he kept playing. And that was the thing. There was no, you talking about rehab center. There's nothing medical, no trainers, no strength coach, no nothing like that at all. They wouldn't spend the money for it. I had a trainer ready, been in pro ball, was Washington Nationals for years. He was with the Angels the year before that. I said, I can get him down here. He is outstanding. They didn't want to pay it. So they didn't want to pay to take care of the people, the players that are out there. And that was the issue. They didn't spend the extra money on the players. That's my biggest issue there. That and the community issue. There was nothing going for the community. Nothing at all.
That was the second one. I said I had three things. The first one I wanted to talk about that. The second thing I do want to talk about is because the way the Ballers came about. Wanted, obviously, in being rooted in Oakland and all the controversy about the A's leaving, one of the things that always came to the surface, and you can Google Oakland Ballers right now, and you're going to hear for the community, for Oakland, rooted in the community. Like I said, I saw the Black Panther jersey and I put it on. I just posted a picture with it this week, and I was like, "This is fantastic." And so I wanted to, and I've heard, I've read articles about fans saying they're so happy that the Ballers are here, and I live in Richmond, Virginia. It's a minor league baseball town. I love my AA Richmond Flying Squirrels. So I mean, I understand the connection between a minor league club, an independent club, and the fans. Talk to me, because there's a lot of talk about community give back. Was there, from the player standpoint, from the organization standpoint, how did you guys feel about community give back? Did you guys go in the community? Did you do Boys and Girls Club things? Did you have people come to the stadium? How was that like?
Well, I mean, I'll start real quick and I'll tee it up for them. We didn't have a Boys and Girls Club day at the field, at least while I was there. We didn't have a bunch of groups, filling up those stands. The first day it was sold out. After that, we had like 900,000 people the next game. There was plenty. They charging $20 to $30 for these tickets. There's seats everywhere to give away to these communities, these outreach programs. And it was unbelievable that there was nothing. We didn't go anywhere signing. They have these kids, not one thing. It was a straight gentrification. It felt like, yes, they are giving something to Oakland fans, which is awesome. They're giving them a team. But it's $20, $30. These people can't afford that. They can't even go to the game. What the people they're talking about. That's the issue I had.
Yeah, I felt the same way. The one thing we did have a little mini camp. Other than that, that was really it. And I was frustrated because how they were portraying it was not how it was going down. So it was like I was seeing all these posts and all this stuff. Oh, we're so for Oakland, we're so for this, we're so for that, knowing that they weren't doing anything. So it felt like kind of a disrespect because it's like you're putting on a facade for these fans when you're not really doing anything. So, you know, I bit my tongue, but it was just kind of a hard pill to swallow, knowing that you were pretty much lying to all these fans, and they weren't really, the Panther jersey and all that stuff going to the zoo. All that stuff was after the fact. Like they
Okay.
did that because it looked like they were trying to cover their tracks after we aired them out.
Mm,
So that's kind of my takeaway from all of it. They started doing stuff once we finally were starting to press an issue.
mm,
Yeah, so like
No,
I can only really speak on my experience. Like I can just compare them from when I was with Rocky Mountain Vibes to Oakland. So when we was with Rocky Mountain at the end of the season, there was a certain specific day for certain events for the fans every single game. So
mm,
I think Wednesdays or Thursdays was always like military day. Like veterans can get
mm,
in free. We had the breast cancer awareness. We had Spanish night on Fridays. We had Kids Day on Sunday or Saturday. We had young kids run onto the field with us like almost 3 games out of the week. I mean, every day when we was in Rocky Mountain, there was something dedicated to the fans or to some specific group every game. But and when we was in Oakland, I mean, I think there was maybe one game. I think we had the LGBTQ game that was dedicated to those groups, to that group. And I think that's all I can remember. But being in Rocky Mountain is like there's something dedicated. Okay, yes, we're playing, but like at the same time, okay, I can be like, okay, I'm playing for the veterans today, or I'm playing for the kids who had disabilities today. Like there's a reason that the game is being played today that Rocky Mountain made it feel like. We're in Oakland, it was just like it was like a show. Like we were just going out there to put on a show. Not a baseball show, but like a entertainment show for the fans, which is fun. But like, is that for the fans or is that for you? So like, it's a
mm.
coin flip at this point.
Interesting. That's I think is somebody that obviously has been around affiliate baseball, double A baseball, and so forth. I know that it's built in to the ethos of a lot of these clubs that they have to do so many things just about every night. Like you said, there's kids running on the field every night. There's little league teams. There's obviously underserved communities, and again, this is all year one. So I do want to say that in the sense of I'm not what you have experienced from any case in point is a roller coaster in itself. And obviously, like I said, the respect I have for each of you as players and Coach Franklin, I definitely wanted to be able to have you express what this season was like. And I do think the national narrative, see, the thing is that it's interesting to me being in Virginia, there's a national narrative about the Ballers, right? There's a national narrative. And then there's a more specific localized narrative about the Ballers. And there's obviously nothing we can get closer to than having the players on and having the coach on. But I definitely think there's a disconnect between the national narrative of what the Oakland Ballers are and kind of what's happening on the ground. I always want to gentlemen, I always want to end on something positive. And what I mean by that is I don't look at any of this stuff and these experiences losses. You look at them as lessons. So to go to each of you, if you were going to say what was the lesson you learned from this last year and your experience playing with the Oakland Ballers, what's the lesson you learned?
I mean, I'll start. I didn't have a lesson that I learned. I already knew that people are about themselves and want their money and they'll lie to you. I got fooled in that, but at the end of the day, I still want, and that's why I'm on here now, and that's why I didn't say anything until the season was over because I want this to be successful for Oakland. I want them to force those owners to do what they said they're doing on the national side because I believe they have good intention, but I believe maybe the money situation caused them to And it causes certain people to act a way maybe their intention was to do all the things they were saying, but the financing turned them into, oh no, we're losing too much, and that's a shame. So I'm here for them to have a lesson to do right, to just do right. I want it to work for them, and I want it to work for Oakland because the people deserve it, not just the people like we talked about who can afford $20 to $30 for a ticket. I want the people to go out to the community, to have the community at the game, to have the police department and the boys club together playing a game against each other, the kids and the cops, and making that a better place. Because right now it's not okay what's going on in half of Oakland right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be that way. But that team was not for them. It was for people. I love Whole Foods. I love Whole Foods, but it was for people that can afford Whole Foods and get Whole Foods apples and oranges and pay double the price because they're good. Don't get me wrong, but they double the price. So it's not for that community and the people that need it like I thought it was going to be for.
I'm gonna go down the line. There you go, Trevor. What lesson did you learn this season?
Mine's kind of the same thing. I mine's more of like a positive, I guess. Like, the relationships I built in tough times with my friends and players. With Peyton and AD. I mean, for example, like me and AD lived in a hotel for 2 months. Like, just the relationship we built going through all that is a bond that won't ever be broken. I feel like, and Micah hitting with him for a month. He, like I said, he's like a father figure to me. I talk to him all the time, like to this day, and I feel like even though it was really tough times, there was a positive that came out of it as well.
There you go.
I
Payton
would,
or
I would just
AD?
like to say that, everything, I'm the type of person, everything happens for a reason. God puts people in your life for a reason. You go through trials and tribulations for a reason. So, like, every year is just going to be a different trial, tribulation, different lesson that you learn. So, this year just happened to be a lesson of, who has your back, who's your friend, seeing through uh, the crap that people put you through, seeing through all that, learning the business side of professional baseball. I mean, like, I'm still grateful because some people aren't even playing independent ball. We got the opportunity to play professional ball. No matter how it turned out, I still got this opportunity to play. I got this opportunity to meet Micah, uh, hit with him. That's a coach I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. Trevor, Peyton, those are brothers that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. So, like, out of all the bad that's happened, there's always good that happens with it. You just have to take it how you see it, and some people are going to twist it. Some people are going to take it how they want. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna take it as everything happens for a reason. I'm here. So I mean, every day you wake up is a blessed day. So I mean, can't complain about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Trevor and AD hit it on the head. We all go through trials and tribulations through each year, but I mean, the camaraderie you build, the relationships you create and have. I feel like that's what really, that's what pushed you through all the BS and all the extra stuff. Because like at the end of the day, you there for baseball, you there for the boys. Like it's gonna always be outside distractions, other stuff, but as long as you got the gang, like you good, and like that's how it was this year. And like when AD and Miles and Trevor and Mike and all them left, it was me, another dude, and another dude, Dre Hub, and then Jalen Smith, and we just like, dang, like it's just us now. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole new team, whole new vibe, like everything different. But I feel like that also allowed me to, when they left, allowed me to get more closer to other people, and learn more people, and build other relationships. So I feel like the biggest positive about everything is the relationships built, because baseball a big world, but it's also a small world. Everybody connected with everybody, so it's just the relationships built. Like they said, we're gonna have them for a lifetime. We got one of the best hitting gurus in the game, and like how can you not have that in your pocket? It's a fact. It's a fact, and like literally before Micah left, one tweak of my swing, and I went from 5-6 hits in a week, and boom, he fixed it. He get fired, and I got 18 hits in a week, and it's like, we just fired this dude. Like, why? Like, what are we doing? But it's like the relationships, I feel like, is definitely the biggest positive in the season, because you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know who you meet, who they gonna know, or if they know who you know, you know.
Aware that all three of these guys on this, and it goes back to black baseball, that the way baseball has changed, and we see why there's not black players in org ball as much in the major leagues, is because each one of these players, all you have to do is look at the back of their bubblegum card in their career. It's a joke that they're not playing with their tools. I mean, I've been in the game 31 years. I've been a major league scout. I've been in draft rooms. I've coached and at the level of professional level. All these things, the tools they possess are not in organizational ball. The orgs don't have these tools. And for them to be having to go through org ball to get there in the first place, going to independent ball to get in the org ball, it's a joke that these guys are overlooked and aren't. All you have to do is look what they did this year. I mean, it was a joke what they did. And that's a shame. The other thing is Payton, we need to take care of him on this podcast. He's still not being taken care of correctly with workers' comp. He's been hurt a while now. And that's the thing. They have to go to me. And that's how I look at these as my kids. You know what I mean? That's how I am, especially brothers. I feel something for them because Willie McGee took me in. And Dusty, everyone, it's passed down. And that's a shame because it's not there anymore. You know, you pass down and help the next, you know? Yeah. And that's how it is. So he called me up. And he's like, man, so I got him in touch with my workers' comp lawyer and had them talk and then try to get Susan Sussinger, get and see maybe if she can, you know, talk to him and maybe they can get pressure on the team to take care of him because he got to get this taken care of so he can be ready to go out there and play. The longer they stall it, the worse it's going to be.
Absolutely. Now you got to get right, man. You got to get healthy. You got to make sure that people are taking care of each other.
And that's my concern. They're not taking care of the players. They are not looking at the players as they're important. They're looking for the clicks and the follows and money. And, you know, that's fine, but be upfront, be straight with it if that's what you're going to do.
Gentlemen, I really want to take the time. I want to go out of my way to take the time to thank each of you for coming on the mixtape. I want to thank Coach Franklin for really kind of helping organize and set this up. There is a lot of lessons that we can take from this conversation, and I want to make sure that people understand that these young men and this coach have a passion for baseball. Their careers are just getting started in many ways. Coach Franklin has been a player and a coach for a long time. He's going to continue to coach. So what I wanted to do was make sure that you had the opportunity to express your journeys. I think we did that, a little bit of that today. We can do more in the future. And I also wanted to say, you know, the way things start aren't always the way that things will end. So hopefully people in the Ballers organization will also, like you said, Coach, they'll course correct. They'll do better as they move forward. And so, you know, I'm open to any conversation. Anytime that we can advocate for Black baseball players, coaches, I'm going to be there. And sometimes, like I said, I got to learn lessons as well. So I appreciate you gentlemen taking this time to do those lessons. This is Cheats with the Black Baseball Mixtape. We'll catch you next time.